All right, and welcome into the Betting Pros podcast. It's time to place your bets for the 2025 Preakness Stakes. That's right, we're back betting ponies, this time heading to Baltimore. I'm your host, Seth Woolcock, and we're coming off a fantastic Kentucky Derby where our guest Mike Somich helped some very happy listeners cash in both on the Sovereignty outright and the legendary Superfecta. So shout out to everyone who tailed. Shout out to Mike for some really great plays as well. Joining me today is an equally exciting cast, including the host of the Betting Pros Daily Juice podcast, Matt Perrault. Matt, great to see you today, man. How are you as we gear up for another leg of the Triple Crown?
I'm good. Sovereignty's win over journalism was pretty exciting. It was kind of predicted right after the race that this second leg might not get the Triple Crown winner potential. So it's a little bit of a bummer on the Preakness, but it's a good money-making opportunity for sure. Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Also joining us is someone else who is correctly coming off a really big Kentucky Derby win himself. He shouted it right here on the Betting Pros podcast. It's Luke Monaldo. Luke, how are you doing as we approach yet another exciting weekend of horse racing?
I'm doing great myself. A little bummed that there will be no Triple Crown winner this year, but other than that, it's always great to have the Preakness.
Absolutely. Before we jump into the program, just wanted to first shout out everyone who's watching and listening. If you're joining us here on the Betting Pros YouTube channel, do us a quick favor. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy this type of content. Also, subscribe if you're new so you don't miss a thing. And let's go ahead, gentlemen. Let's dive in, starting with post positions and what they mean. Luke, can you please explain a little bit about how certain gates historically help or hurt when it comes to the Preakness versus the Derby and how it might impact your betting card this weekend, my friend?
Well, it's not quite as spread out in terms of the scatter chart, I should say, because instead of a 20-horse field, you have less than half. Historically, I guess since 1909, the 6-hole has produced the most winners with 17, including last year's winner with Seize the Gray. But you have a lot. 13 for goal-oriented is at the 1-hole. You have 13 at the 1-hole, 14 at the 4-hole. Everything like that. And even since 2000, 6-hole has had 4 winners, but everyone else has had 2 or 3 and at least 1 through 1 through 9 since 2000. So it's anyone's game in terms of the gate.
Matt, anything in addition to add to that? And with that being said, are there any big name ponies that you're either fading in key slots or maybe backing this weekend?
No, not in terms of fading. I mean, I think when you look at a horse like journalism and the way that he performed in the Derby, I think obviously he's the odds-on favorite for good reason. And so I think when you're talking about horses that have gone, we've seen them run already against many in this field and going into the Preakness. Now with obviously Sovereignty not being there, you have to really like a bigger name horse to come in here and get the win. But the problem is the Derby is so great because of the depth of the betting pool, and the pari-mutuel gives you so many opportunities to make money and really cash a long shot ticket. So if you want the bombers, the Derby's just the pool of money is so different than when it comes to the Preakness. And then it's somewhat, I do tend to bet favorites more, and I'm more confident in betting favorites in the Preakness because I'm not, one, the field's half the size, but two, the prize pool is different. So you aren't looking to come off with that ticket and that superfecta that's going to pay you, 20, 30, 40 to 1. It's better to come in with a Preakness and take the horse you really think that's going to win.
Okay.
And maybe take winners. Just take a winner and take the price there because it's probably going to be decent price for you to get.
Luke, anything that the post position draw is telling you right now that you're either staying away from or that you are potentially backing because of that poll?
Well, journalism at the 2, I don't love just because that's a hard trip, especially as a deep closer. If he gets kind of caught there between the rail and the crowd, being 1 3/16 miles, it is the shortest of the Triple Crown race, and that can lead to issues with the deep closers. I think journalism there's a lot of trips that can get him a win, but if you want to find the money in this race, it's going to be with journalism getting a bad trip on the inside.
Okay. Before we continue, be sure to download the free Betting Pros app for iOS and Android. With Sportsbook Sync, you can automatically track your bets across all major sportsbooks in one spot. Easily monitor your bet performance by sport and bet type, including game picks, props, and of course some parlays. Create custom betting systems to find winning trends and profitable opportunities. Get a free trial of BettingPros Premium by downloading the app at bettingpros.com/apps and activating your trial on the upgrade screen. Now, what everyone's been waiting for, let's go ahead and move into the odds. The favorites as of midweek are Journalism once again, who, after finishing second in the Derby, is now going off at 8-5 odds, which in American odds, your sports betting odds, it's going to be plus 160. The Stables owned and Metallica inspired named Sandman comes in at 4-1 odds after finishing 7th in the Derby. Clever again is at 5-1, and Goal Oriented is also at 5-1. Let's start by breaking down overlays and underlays. Matt, in your eyes, do you see any overlays offering values or underlays that you're potentially avoiding this weekend?
Not really. I mean, not yet. I think I kind of want to get a little bit closer as we're taping here on a Wednesday. I want to get kind of closer. I really want to see the weather. I mean, I think that has such a key component as to come when it comes to value and looking at the field and looking at the prices. I think in terms of, and again, we don't know what the weather's going to be like because it's obviously on the East Coast and it can change relatively quickly. But if it's going to be a wet track, if it's going to rain, it will change the way I'm going to bet this race. So as of right now, there's some forecasts that say we might have some rain in the forecast in Baltimore. And if that happens, that will change. So as of right now, no, but that could change based upon the weather as we get closer to post time.
Okay. When it comes to the favorites here, Luke, of course, these odds are subject to change, weather depending, of course, seeing where the money comes in as well. So are any of these favorites bettable or potentially ones that you're avoiding here, Luke?
I guess Journalism for the aforementioned reason of just his post position.
Okay.
I guess another little thing to put in is in recent years, there in the past about 15 or 16 races, there's been 5 favorites have won, like money line favorites, and 6 long shots have won. So in recent years, you have seen a little more of the long shots come through. Horses like Cloud Computing and Seize the Gray even was a mid long shot in that regard. So maybe goal oriented. I think if you want to talk in terms of long shots, maybe not in his odds, but just in terms of he's only raced 2 races. He's won both of them. I think he wants the distance, and Baffert has got 8 of these things, and you don't win it by throwing just any old horse out there. So I think if Baffert thinks he's ready, and honestly, if speaking to the weather, if it's a wet track, sometimes that inside that rail is the driest and the best route. So if you get goal oriented out in front and he's got the rail, you could see an upset in terms of just his racing history right there. His racing history, not racing history, but his own personal racing history there.
What do you think about that, Matt? Do you have any favorites that you will be laying any coin down, or is this just, an all-out, hey, I'm going to hold it and wait and see until the weekend?
If I was betting today, I would bet Sandman. And I think that's – I would bet Sandman to win it, the Arkansas Derby winner. And I'm a little bit of a music nut, so you could say I'm a little bit superstitious on this because I thought the track on his run in the Derby wasn't all that great. So Let's see what happens here in kind of a bounce back spot. I think, as Luke talked about, the rail is somewhat of a questionable spot for Journalism, so I may go 4-1, 5-1 on Sandman on those odds. I think goal oriented, 6-1. 7-1. Let's see where those prices wind up going. That's not a horrible idea. I mean, if you want long shots and go crazy, Heart of Honor is a horse. Maybe it's a horse that hasn't run here, so maybe a horse that we don't know much about that kind of comes from the clouds and comes out. If you want that long shot opportunity, but from a favorite perspective, right now, I would look at Sandman and say, okay, let's see if you can make up for the Derby because there was so much hype around that horse.
Oh my goodness!
And things did not go well at the Derby.
Yeah, this guy has I think probably more Instagram horses or Instagram followers this horse does than BettingPros does, which we got a pretty good following out there on the Insta streets. But yes, Sandman certainly the New York Yankees endorsement that does not hurt that at all. Luke, in addition to the outright market, there are exotics that could be in play here. So whether that's exactas, trifectas, win, play, show bets. Are there any things that you're looking at potentially adding to your card in these markets?
I don't think there's so much stacked against this horse to win, But I like Pay Billy, and the biggest thing I like about Pay Billy to hit the board is that he's got 5 wins, and that's they're at limited stakes races and below. They're all at Laurel Park, 10 minutes from my house, by the way.
Nice.
So he's a local legend here, Kentucky bred, but he's raced his entire career in Delaware and Maryland. But 5 wins as a 3-year-old is nothing to sneeze at. So he has a chance to hit the board, and at 20-1 or whatever he's going to go off at, that can really add value in a horse in a race that is searching for it.
Matt, you said that this might be the race that you're just potentially taking outright. Do you like any exotics off the rip here, or is this just another place you're staying away from?
I think for me, I tend to look towards the value on race day when it comes to exotics. I break down horses. The way I break down fields is I want to see who I think is going to win the race. And then from there, I'll kind of play off of it and say, okay, like I don't normally make this bet, but the bet at the Derby I took the top 3 odds to go first, second, or third, the top 3 odds, shortest odds to win the race in the Derby. And that was a -130 play. I don't normally make that, but I felt like the top 3 horses in the race, it was Journalism, it was Sovereignty, and I forget the third horse that they gave me as an option to bet it. And I laid juice with it just because I thought those were the top 3 horses that were going to come in, and Sovereignty won, so that bet cashed. So I don't normally do stuff like that, but I feel like sometimes there can be a separator as we get closer to post time where you start to see the quote-unquote sharp money come in.
Yeah.
And as that comes in, you're like, okay, what am I not seeing? Because I bet everything. So, like, I kind of I'm a master of none when it comes to gambling in a lot of senses. Like, I do look to see where the late money comes in and where the larger wagers come in, because I may go, okay, I'm going to bet Sandman to win this thing, but if I'm going to play in exacta, who's going to come in second? You know, if I'm going to play I love the options that horse racing gives you with the boxes and the different levels, different bets you can make for 50 cents and $1. Yeah. So oftentimes I go with somebody who I know who's a good gambler who knows how to bet horses, and I'll tell them, okay, I like these 3 horses. How do I do it? And they'll give me the bet to make at the window.
Nah, that's awesome, man. I'm always very pleasantly surprised by the array of different markets that you're investing in over there on the Daily Juice. What's the weirdest sport you've ever bet on?
The weirdest sport I've ever bet on? That's a great question, because I grew up in Boston, and betting on NASCAR is always like a foreign conversation.
Okay.
But I worked in Virginia and Alabama.
Yeah.
So I covered Talladega, and then I went to Omaha, and I went to Des Moines, and I went to Kansas City. I went to Texas. I've been to Texas Motor Speedway. I've been to Kansas City. I've been to Iowa Motor Speedway. I've been around the country at different tracks. So I would say, like, the one sport that I've never played myself that I've bet on would be car racing, would be NASCAR.
Okay.
I bet on that.
Well, if you guys like NASCAR, I put out an article on the Betting Pros website every single weekend.
Good.
BettingPros.com, so make sure you guys are firing up there. I'll have Truck, Xfinity, and Cup Series odds for you. So, definitely one of those niche markets, though, for sure. I don't think you look at all these stats of different areas that are growing in sports betting. NASCAR is not one, but we're trying to get it there. So we're going to keep doing the Lord's work over here at Betting Pros. And before we get to our long shots, I wanted to tell everyone about an amazing offer we have that Bet365 is offering right now for you. Turn $5 into $150 of bonus bets when you join Bet365. To claim this offer, just go to bettingpros.com/365 and deposit at least $10. If you place a bet of at least $5, you're going to earn yourself $150 in bonus bets. Again, that's bettingpros.com/365. 21 plus only, must be present in Arizona, Colorado, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kentucky, Louisiana, North Carolina, New Jersey, Ohio, Tennessee, or Virginia. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or 1-800-BETS-OFF if you live in Iowa. Terms and conditions do apply. All right, gentlemen, let's go ahead and get into some long shots. Luke, do you have any sleeper picks that you're riding with this weekend?
I'm going to stick with Pay Billy. You know, he's a local favorite, and he got in by winning the Federico Tessio Stakes. It's been a long time if ever they've produced a winner, but I just, like I said, 5 wins as a 3-year-old. That's not for nothing. So Pay Billy, if he wins, is going to pay Billy, John, Joey, everybody big time.
What do you think, Matt? Do you have any long shots that you're potentially looking at? I think you already shouted one out.
Yeah, Heart of Honor is kind of what I'm looking at. I like the fourth post position right in the middle of the field coming in. We don't know this horse. It's making his U.S. debut at the Preakness, so we don't really know a whole lot about how he'll run here in the United States. So I tend to like horses that maybe other jockeys haven't seen run and don't know his running style. And if he is going to be a closer, let's see what the pace is here. If it is a muddy track, if it is sloppy and maybe a slower track, you might see somebody come from the clouds like a Heart of Honor getting a chance at 15, 16 to 1, depending on where he closes, to come and get a big upset in the Preakness.
Okay. All right. Well, Luke, I got one more question for you to round it out, and I hope you take this as a compliment, but you look like a degenerate, a lot like myself. So I want to ask you, do you have a degenerate ticket for us? A YOLO ticket, if you would. Ooh. Maybe a big payout play, something that we're not going to hold you to. Maybe over in that superfecta market that's maybe just worth a little bit of a sprinkle here?
Okay, so let's take the situation I talked about earlier. Let's say journalism gets a horrible trip and gets trapped on the inside. So
okay.
Take his 8-5 out of it. Let's do it. You got Heart in any order. Heart of Honor, Pay Billy, River Thames, who he's kind of like Sovereignty. Like I talked about the last time we talked, Sovereignty had been around too long to be trendy, and people kind of forgot about him. River Thames is much the same way. He posted a 116 speed rate, a buyer speed rating earlier this year, and that's, I believe, the best, if not one of the best in the field this year. So put him in there, and then you can even add Sandman in. So you can have River Thames and Sandman are kind of the more meat and potatoes part of that, the most likely. And then you go ahead and throw Heart of Honor and Pay Billy. And if that hits, especially if Pay Billy or Heart of Honor is wins or places, ooh, man.
Okay. All right. Well, Matt, Luke.
Go ahead. Can I ask Luke a question on that? Because I am curious. Luke, what's your theory when it comes to boxes and it comes to playing all and the crazier bets? Because my co-host on my other show has once put all. He picked the winner and then hit the all button and was able to cash and won about $9,000 doing it. Okay, because if you get a dog, you get a crazy from the clouds, and I forget whichever it was. It was 2 years ago that won the Derby, the Longshot horse that won the Derby. That's escaping my brain. I apologize, but. How do you feel about those types of box and one and those crazier inside school bets?
They're a dangerous game because I got into that for a while, especially during COVID, when that was really the only sport betting thing in town. And I would box. I'd find horses that were like 6-horse races, so I could like do a 10-cent superfecta, box them all. And it's like a $36 ticket, and I hit big on one of them, and it's not a very good, smart long-term thing, but you can hit big with it. But I do like boxing superfectas because I hate that. Instead I did $1.20 instead of doing $2.40, and the long shot hit, but I didn't have that. So I like to do all. If I'm doing a superfecta, I like to box it and have all. So I'm just rooting for the horse, the 4 horses to finish rather than like any particular order. That's where I can go crazy.
I like that too. Yeah, and I think for the average person that doesn't bet horses, it's fun not picking the order, just picking the top 4 horses that come in. And granted, that ticket at 50 cents can get expensive. It can be up to $50-$60 on it, but it's worth it if you're going to bet that race, I think, if you do like multiple horses.
For sure. And they have the it's like a quinella, but it's like an omni box. They have it a lot in like other countries, international racing, where it's like you pick 2 horses, and if they finish anywhere in the top 3, it pays. But it doesn't matter if it's their first and third, second and third, whatever. And those can be fun. I used to do early mornings, South Africa. That was really my DJ days. Was betting South African horse racing because it was like first thing in the morning, 8 o'clock. The races start. I love it. Gets me into the day, into the
get a little sweat going.
Practice.
Love it. Love it. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for the analysis this weekend. Good luck to you. Good luck to everyone out there in their bets for the Preakness Stakes. That is going to do it for us today on the Betting Pros podcast. Thanks so much for watching. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Also, subscribe if you're new so you don't miss a thing. And don't forget to download the Betting Pros app and sync your sportsbooks today. For Luke Monaldo and Matt Perrault, I'm Seth Woolcock. Take care, y'all.
Thanks.